Feeling Nerd here, and welcome back to my channel. It is still the month of March, so we're continuing on with our journey of 31 days of outfits inspired by women scientists. If you're new here or haven't been keeping up, that means every single day of March I will be posting a short on my YouTube and a reel on my Instagram. Yeah, I got this right. Where I dress inspired by women scientists in history, or some of them that are still alive and doing science today. And on Tuesdays, you get even more content where I go kind of behind the scenes and how I created some of the outfits that I've been wearing this month. So today I was very inspired by Grace Hopper, who is an amazing computer programmer. So we're gonna learn a little bit more about her life, what she did, and how I created the outfit, or the dress for the outfit that you'll see in today's reel, short, whatever it's called. Alright, before I get into the sewing and voiceover montaging sequence, we'll just set you up with a little bit of background of what I'll be sewing, and you'll learn why I chose the fabric that I chose. But I decided to go with this really cute pattern I have for like a princess seam dress. That means there's the seams coming down the side of it. And I went for kind of this longer version with just the smooth neckline, so no scallops on the neckline, because I don't have really good luck with that. And I'll be real with you, it took me a hot second to get started with this dress, even though it really wasn't that many pieces, because the literal second step was to put in the zipper, and I just did not have the energy for that. But I eventually got started and made a beautiful dress, which you'll see at the end of this video. So this is the fabric that I chose from Joann's, and as you can tell, this is actually like part of the hem of the dress that I just cut off because it was too long. But it's a beautiful black, kind of silky feeling material with this beautiful flower and moth print. So the moths are actually kind of why I chose this fabric, and you'll learn why moths, why this fabric, in a little bit. So let's get into that sewing footage, as well as I'll start talking about the amazing life of Grace Hopper. Hello everyone, we're back with voiceover Brianna. Alright, today we're going to be talking about the freaking rad, amazing life of Grace Hopper. Grace Hopper was born in 1906 in New York City, and she graduated from Vassar College in 1928 with a degree in mathematics and physics. After following that, she started to teach at Vassar while also pursuing her master's and doctorate degrees, and she got those both from Yale, her master's degree in 1930 and her doctorate in 1934, and they were also both in mathematics. That's a lot of degrees in math. Ooh. When the United States entered World War II in the 1940s, Grace decided it was also time for her to join the war effort. But initially, she was rejected because she was considered to be too old. She was only 34, and she was quite underweight. And she basically just kept on annoying the Navy until they granted her a weight waiver in order to join the U.S. Naval Reserve. Go her for annoying the Navy until they accepted her. So for the Navy, she was assigned to the Bureau of Ships Computation Project at Harvard University. And there she worked on a team that was working on was called the Mark I, which was the first electromechanical computer in the United States. This computer did important wartime calculations such as rocket trajectories and ranges for anti-aircraft guns. Grace is one of the first 3 programmers for Mark I, even wrote a 561-page manual on its operation. Whew, I don't know if I know anything well enough to write a 561-page manual on it. Following the war, Grace didn't want to return to teaching at Vassar, so she decided to stay working at Harvard on computers under various Navy contracts, working on the Mark II and Mark III computers. Eventually, at the end of the 1940s, she left Harvard because they didn't have any permanent job positions for women. So in 1949, she headed over to the Eckert-Mauchly Computer Corporation in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And this company had developed the first electronic computer under Army contract and was in the process of developing the first commercial electronic computer. Grace, working on these computers, made very important advances in coding computers. And in 1953, she proposed what was a really crazy idea for the time. This was the idea that we should be writing a computer language that used English words rather than mathematical symbols. Which I know sounds kind of more logical nowadays, but back then, all computer languages that existed used all sorts of different mathematical symbols. So in 1956, she and her team started running Flowmatic, that, unlike Fortran or Mathematic used at the time, used math symbols. So Flowmatic used English words rather than mathematical symbols. While this may not sound like a crazy impressive thing or something that would impact the world of computers that much, it had a huge impact on expanding the community of computer users. Using a word-based language made the computer much more accessible to people who didn't have a math or engineering degree. And as the computer became more marketed towards the private sector, aka the people who don't have engineering or math backgrounds, these people were more and more the users of computers, so it was a lot easier for somebody with a business background to use Flowmatic rather than Fortran or Mathematic. During the 1950s, the number of various computer languages that existed also kept increasing. So there was a growing need for some sort of standardized or common language that could be used across different sectors and businesses. So basically, like, the math sector might use one computer language, the business sector was using another one, the law sector might use a different one, the engineering sector might even be using a different computer language. So if you wanted to cross sectors or different business types, you would have to learn a whole different computer language. Now, in 1959, in efforts to solve that, the Conference on Data Language Systems took place, and as a result, something known as COBOL, or Common Business Oriented Language, was created, with Grace being on the team that developed it. And after this conference, she continued to build compilers for the computer language and encouraged its adoption among the programming community. So while she worked on a team to develop COBOL, she's really credited with kind of continuing to push it and continuing to get other people to adopt it. So COBOL became the most widely used computer language by the 1970s, thanks to Grace's hard work encouraging everybody to use it and really getting computers in the hands of people that weren't mathematicians or engineers. Which again doesn't sound like a really crazy thing since everybody nowadays has access to computers, but when computers first came out, they were used by people with a really high technical training skill, and so Grace was able to get them more into the hands of the everyday person. Grace remained in the Navy as a reservist until age restrictions forced her to retire in 1966, and she retired as a commander, which is very impressive in itself. But then just a few short months later, she was called back to active duty to standardize the Navy's computer codes and languages. At the time of her second retirement, where she retired as a rear admiral, cool lady, at the age of 79, she was the oldest serving officer in the United States Armed Forces. But even though she was 79, she didn't quit working, and she went to work as a consultant in public relations for the Digital Equipment Corporation until her death in 1992. She is buried with full military honors in the Arlington National Cemetery because she is super cool and served in the military for so long and just... what a cool lady. Now you may be wondering, where on earth did moths come into all of this? Why did I choose to use a moth fabric? Well, the term bug has been around for quite a while, used to describe a flaw in a system. I believe Thomas Edison actually used it. But in 1947, Grace Hopper and her team encountered an issue with the Mark II they were working on. When they opened up the computer, they found the issue. A literal bug had gotten inside the computer and was causing it to malfunction. The moth was taped into the logbook with the note, quote, "first actual case of bug being found," unquote. And that was a moth, and we still use the terms bug and debug in computer language to this day. Pretty cool. Wow, that was so much sewing to get done, and man, can I do a lot of work when I'm working in fast motion. And I hope you enjoyed learning all about Grace Hopper's life. So let's go see what that dress ended up looking like. Hello again! The dress is finally done, and I think it turned out super cute, and I absolutely love today's Grace Hopper inspired outfit. So finally we got like an actual happy story from one of our scientist story types. Grace Hopper's life was full of so much work, and even above the actual computer programming she did, her ability to see the potential of computers and see them being accessible to everyone and raising a new generation of people who could use computers was impressive. So she worked on computers, but she also persuaded businesses to take up these newfangled contraptions. She recruited and taught workshops. She spoke to young Navy people and college students. She was always trying to teach because she knew that as much as she could know, it meant nothing if the future generations couldn't carry that on. And thanks to her envisioning a world where everybody had access to computers, computers are widely accessible today, and I don't know how far along we'd be with that if it weren't for Grace Hopper's amazing work. So yay, happy story. Grace Hopper was a really, really cool person. So today's fun fact that we're gonna rate on a scale of 1 to 10 is that the phrase, "it's easier to ask for forgiveness rather than permission," was actually popularized due to Grace Hopper using it frequently. So please be sure to drop that rating for the fun facts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and stay tuned for more women scientist inspired outfits every single day of March, and longer format content on Tuesday for the month of March about how I made some of these amazing outfits I've been wearing. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, tell all your friends about it, share the story of Grace Hopper with everyone, follow me on Instagram, and remember to keep it sciencey!